Hello everyone, my name's Justin also, and I'd love to talk to you about how to create explainer videos that don't suck. Now, I prepared a whole chapter on why I think this is important and why I think it's beneficial, and then I received an email, and it did a much better summary of saying why this was important that I could ever do. So let's read it. So a random spammer wrote to me and said, "You need explainer videos, not words." You probably noticed your competitors are all over these newfangled explainer videos. And these get 10 times more traffic and views than static text on your website, and they can go everywhere. So I thought that was a much better introduction to this presentation than I could ever do. So let's change the title of the presentation to that, and then we're good for the beginning. Right? Okay. Now, well, maybe I guess, you know, maybe this presentation shouldn't be by random spammer, but by me. So let me tell you why I think explainer videos are important. Now, the main thing that explainer video does is it basically allows me to trust you or your company or your software, to make me trust your company in that you solve my problem. Because if I can see you solving my problem, I completely believe you. If you're explaining it to me, or an ad, or a salesperson is telling me that you solve my problem, then, you know, there's a good chance I won't actually really completely believe you. And I'm not the only one, right? Salespeople can, you know, salespeople are known for exaggerating the facts, and just, to me, seeing is believing. Now, there's another good reason for using a video to explain something, and that's especially if your software isn't super intuitive, because viewers retain much more of the message when it comes to video versus text, and showing somebody how to do something really helps them to kind of get to understand it, right? Now, somebody came up to me the other day and told me, "Hey, Justin, you know, these explainer videos suck. You should just make your software intuitive." And I completely agree with that. I think everybody should do that. And if we all had budgets like Apple, then maybe we could all do that. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a process to make your software intuitive, and it takes a lot of talking to customers and having customers go through your product before you can actually get to that place where it's super intuitive. So, let's say for the meantime, I think explainer videos are perfect until you reach that point where you have software that's super intuitive, even if your software covers some very complex things. Now, okay, another reason why I love explainer videos is the fact that you aren't translating. You're showing what someone needs to do, you're using a visual medium, and then you're going to the software, which is also a visual medium, and you're doing exactly the same thing. There's no translation lost there, basically. Now, another good reason is YouTube. It's incredibly popular. A lot of people are consuming a lot of content on YouTube, and having your content be on YouTube is incredibly beneficial. Especially, you know, a lot of people discover new brands that way. So being on YouTube that's a reason in itself. Now, a little bit about me. So I'm a software engineer, full stack, web developer mainly. I've been that for over 10 years. I've deviated a little bit from the traditional software engineering path, and about 5 years of my job, a good chunk of it has been presenting at conferences and creating educational material, creating explainer videos, that sort of thing. So I'm going to distill down some of the knowledge that I know from that and from my software engineering to basically get you the best for your explainer videos. Now, another thing you should know about me is I'm a visual person. So I get mad when people have text-only manuals. I'm also a dyslexic person, so I get mad really slowly and for a very long time if you only have text-only manuals. Okay, and then finally, I'm the founder of a company called Record Once, which helps you create stress-free explainer videos. So I've done a lot of interviews with customers there, and I've boiled down some of their best practices into this presentation. Now let's get into the approach. Let's get into the strategy, the plan. Okay. And this plan needs to help you create explainer videos that don't suck to watch. And this plan should also include allowing you to make explainer videos that don't suck to make, because that's also a big part of it. Now, let's talking about that don't suck to make. Okay, so I want you to minimize stress because I think stress is evil. It leads to messing up, and it ultimately leads to having to do things over and over. I think Yoda said it best when Yoda said, "No plan is the path to the dark side. No plan leads to stress. Stress leads to messing up. Messing up leads to re-recording, and re-recording leads to suffering." Thank you so much, Yoda. Now, yes, I want to make sure that our plan includes minimizing re-recording, because it's unnecessary. You should just be creative. You should be solving problems. You shouldn't be doing the same thing over and over and over. Now, I also want to make sure that we minimize the amount of time editing, because personally, it's not my favorite thing to do, and it can be a huge time sink as well. And you can easily spend, between the recording and the editing, for just a couple-minute video, you could be spending a whole day of recording and editing to get it good. So let's minimize that time, okay? Now let's talk about creating explainer videos that don't suck to watch. And one of the ways to do that is basically by being focused. And before you decide to create an explainer videos, you should set a goal for yourself, or maybe a couple goals. Now, depending on who you're working together with in your company, you could talk to marketing, you could talk to support, you could help them out with one of their goals. That could be, of course, for support, decreasing the amount of support tickets, and for marketing, often it's getting more customers or increasing conversion, that sort of thing. So choose a goal, and that way your video won't be all over the place. It'll be focused, and you'll be able to measure to see if you're actually doing a good job. Now, another reason to choose a goal is that it also helps you focus on the audience that you're going to be creating these videos for. This is incredibly important because your messaging will change completely depending on your audience. For example, if I create a pitch video on on my product, and I do that for investors, then I'm going to focus on how much money I'm earning from my customers. Now, the other way around, if I'm doing it for my customers, I'm going to focus on how much money they're saving and how inexpensive it is. And these things can be completely, these can be diametrically opposed. So choosing an audience from the beginning is incredibly important. Now, one of the things that really minimizes stress is by splitting things up and not doing multiple things at the same time. Doing multiple things at the same time increases stress and increases the amount of times that you have to re-record, and by splitting this up, that helps a lot. So there's 3 different chunks I'll talk about a little bit later, and we'll be splitting those up. Now, like Yoda said, no plan leads to the dark side, and our plan is going to be script. So I want you to write your script, catalog, write down everything you're going to click on, everything you're going to fill in, write down the voiceovers that are going to be with that, and this will also allow you to tackle a lot of issues that you're going to have beforehand, and ultimately leads you to de-stressing and having an easier time editing as well. Okay, let's talk about the script, okay? And let's talk a little bit about storytelling. First up, if you're at any point giving a tour of your application, I think you're doing it wrong. Now, there might be reasons to give a tour if you're invited to MTV Cribs, or maybe the Next Web can have their own cribs, or somebody, somebody can have their own cribs. Then you should give a tour. But apart from that, I don't think you should give a tour. I think 9 out of 10 times, if you're giving a tour, you're doing it wrong. So what should you do, okay? Well, let's start with something else. Let's start our presentations talking about the benefit that the person that's watching the video is going to achieve, or talking about the problem that you're going to be solving in that video. If you start out that way, then I think you're on a good path. And I think you're on a great path because the problem that you're solving completely changes the way that you interact with your software. Now, here's an example for some accounting software, right? So a good example would be we're going to get paid by sending an invoice, and I think a bad example would be this is the Invoices tab, here's the Add Invoices button. That second example leads to having to explain absolutely everything on the page, and actually, I think the way you use a feature changes completely depending on what you're doing. Now, the other thing about giving a tour is you might get suckered into explaining absolutely everything on the page, or everything in your application, or everything that's part of a feature, and that can be incredibly boring. Unless you have a video that does specifically that, and that's about that, then that's the only place where you should really do that, in my opinion. So know that you don't need to explain absolutely everything. Just help someone solve their problem. And as I said before, know your audience, know who you're going to be creating the video for. If you have people with different expertise levels, you might choose something with someone with a lower expertise level, so you explain a little bit more. And yeah, I think that's incredibly important. Have that kind of like picture in your mind of who it is you're creating the video for. It could actually be a real person, one of your customers, maybe a new customer. Have that picture in your mind, and then your story will be much better, much more to the point. And yeah, like I said, if someone's new, and maybe they're new to an industry, right? Your software is in a specific industry. If your software is for real estate brokers, you might have someone that's buying their first house or something like that, right? They're a first-time broker, and you might have to explain certain things that are part of your industry, not even necessarily part of your software, but part of your industry. And you could do that at the beginning of your software. And this could actually be a moment for you to just get full screen and talk to the person, explain them a little bit about what you're going to do, what the problem is that you're going to solve, and go into some detail. Yes, like I said, it's a moment for you to show you, and I think that's nice. There's so many faceless corporations nowadays. Giving something a little bit of personality is always great. Okay, now one of the things that you can do with your script is actually go through and read through everything. See if any lingo that you have in your script is something that's specific to your company, right? Especially if there's an acronym in there, there's a good chance that the person that's watching your video doesn't actually know that acronym. Maybe that's an acronym that you came up with. I used to work at a company which name was an acronym. I used to work at IBM, and there was so many weird words that people came up with that then just became normal for us employees, but is so disorienting for people on the outside. So make sure you go through, you remove those from your script, and everything will be much clearer. Now, your support team is a wealth of knowledge. You should be talking to them and talk to them, get their ideas, see what people bump into often. Those are good sources of explainer videos. And once you're finished with the script, show it to them, see if this is something that you think that your customers will get confused by, and then you can rewrite it and make it better. Okay, let's talk about recording. There's those three pillars, right? I talked about getting up personal and talking, showing yourself in the screen. This is optional. You don't have to do it. It's nice. It does add some extra setup and cost and everything like that. But you can do it, and I think it's nice. So let's talk about that, okay? Now, one thing that really helps is asking for help. Getting somebody else to be behind the camera really helps you de-stress and helps you focus on the story that you're going to be telling. You might mess up. You might say something that contradicts itself. You might say something wrong. And the person on the other side of the camera will know that and will be able to write that down and will be able to ask you to try it and do it again. Now, the opposite to that is you doing everything yourself. You record, and then you basically have to rewatch that footage and then try and figure out if it was good. And then try and remember in your mind if 3 takes ago was better or not. It's super stressful. Don't do that. Just ask for a friend. Really helps. Now, finding a quiet place. If you're only doing one explainer video, this is your first one, and you don't have plans on doing more in the future, then maybe go to the office. Go to the office after hours, you know, or maybe you're lucky and, you know, thanks to Corona times, no one's ever in the office. Then that's of course a great place to record. If you want to be doing this more often, you have to find a place that's more that you can reuse. And I have a little pro tip for you there. So my setup here at home is actually a desk that I put on wheels. It can move up, and then I can roll it out whenever I need to record a video. And then when I'm not recording, I can put it in the corner, and it doesn't bother too many people. And I can mount everything to my desk so that, I'm ready to go. It looks a little bit scary. My wife hates it a little bit, but she would hate it even more if it was standing in the middle of the room and not on wheels. Okay, now memorizing. When you're talking, you need to make sure that you have your story that you're gonna say. One thing that really helps me is actually writing things down physically. I might actually type them out first and then write them by hand, and then it will be in my brain. Now, another great tip is called a memory palace. And now go to YouTube, type that in, make a screenshot of this image and of this slide. And yeah, it's a 20-minute talk. It will really change whenever you have to present. It will really help you out big time. I use it pretty often. If I don't have any slides, I'm using Memory Palace in my mind. Okay. And now another thing you could do is set up a teleprompter. I have one here at home. They can be surprisingly cheap to actually create. You could create one yourself if it doesn't have to move, or you could buy one off of Amazon. If you have an iPad, that's the most expensive part of it. If you have a tablet, then the teleprompter itself could cost as little as $50. That's totally fine. Downside of teleprompter is it takes time making it feel natural. You know, if you're reading on the screen, people can see that. It's not good. So those are your three options for memorizing or helping you out memorizing. Now let's talk about recording your screen. Now, I like to create a checklist. I like to print out my script or write it out. Of course, set up your app so that it's ready to go. Make sure you have all of your assets ready. You know, you've filled the database with all kinds of things that you want to show off. You're using a fake account. This is so incredibly important. If you're showing your customers' data to a potential customer, that's a great way of scaring them off, because they're going to think, okay, this person doesn't respect their customers, so I don't want to be a customer. Okay, so create a fake account and use that. I like to create a custom style sheet that I put in my browser, which hides the cookie notifications. It maybe hides intercom, any kind of messages that can pop up that your coworkers are doing to increase conversion on something or the other. You can get rid of with a custom style sheet. Now, of course, turn off notifications, close applications, make sure your recording is 16:9. It's super basic, but if it gets forgotten, it looks really weird, and you don't necessarily need to record your whole screen, but I'll talk a bit more about that. Now, if you're creating content for YouTube, you're creating content for mobile. 70% of all the content that's watched on YouTube is created for mobile. That means if you have a huge screen that you're recording on, and you're recording your full screen, then that is going to be too detailed. People won't be able to see it. You're going to need more than glasses to be able to see or understand a super detailed application on your phone. So my tip for you is actually to squeeze things down to about 720p. If you can set your monitor to that, then that's easy. You just record your full screen there, and then you're good to go. Your videos are always great. Now, you need to take it slow, and I'll tell you why. Seeing a video for the first time, seeing an application for the first time is a little bit like being blindfolded and put in a park. And then you take the blindfold off and you're told to get out of the park within 5 seconds. Now, that can be incredibly disorienting. Of course, if you're new to the application, it feels a little bit like this. Now, if you're used to your application, you work on your application every single day, that park feels a little bit like the park behind your house, the park that you walk your dog every day. You know that park. You know that park really well. You know where you are. You open your eyes. You know where you are. So you need to understand that the person that's watching your video, it's their first time seeing the application probably, and you need to take it slow. You need to really pace yourself. Okay, and it's okay to take a break in between actions, look at your script again, and then figure out what the next thing is that you're going to click on, you're going to show. That will really help you de-stress and help you not make errors, basically. And then understand that there can be certain checkpoints in your app. So if you change from one page to the other, if you're a web application, you change from one page to the other or a screen to the other, that can be a checkpoint. If you mess up after that, you can always go back to that point in time and then record starting from that page change. If you mess up and you have to go back, why not write down the time code that you're recording at and write that down in your script, and then it'll be really, really easy to edit later on. Okay, let's talk about recording our voice. Now, it's incredibly important to find a quiet place, and it can feel super awkward, but actually your closet is a great place to record audio. And I've heard from a lot of professional sound or professional voice actors, they actually record in their closet because it removes all of the other audio. It's great. It feels weird, but trust me, that's a great tip. Now, accent makes you you. It makes you unique, and I love it. But at the same time, it can also be a hurdle for people. If you have an accent that not a lot of people know, then you should make sure that you put more time and effort into really being clear, taking your time, enunciating, and trying to use words that aren't that people are used to, basically. If your accent is the same as everybody always sees on television every single day, then you're one of the lucky ones in this case. I think it's boring, but whatever. It's good for explainer videos. Now, it's great to put some emotion in. It makes things so much more interesting. And the opposite to that, of course, being monotone, is just boring and makes people switch off. Now, put some enthusiasm into your videos, and it will be much more interesting to watch. The kind of rule of thumb for anybody doing any presentation is to understand that the space between you and your audience removes about 10% of everything. So you need to be your normal self plus 10% to just be able to reach the other person. So do that in your voice. Do that when you're in front of the camera. Be your normal self plus 10%, and I think you'll be doing great. Now, there's a balance between enthusiasm and clarity. If you get too enthusiastic, you could go too fast, and then people won't catch up. So that's really the art. You're going to work on that. You're going to figure that out someday, and it's going to be brilliant. But that's something that takes a little bit more time to get used to. Okay. Now, you don't have to explain absolutely everything you do, and actually, so. You need to understand that you don't need to explain everything in incredible detail. So, example being you're submitting a form, you could say, okay, let's add a product, or you could say, let's go to the top right-hand side of our screen, click the blue button inside the green field, and that says submit, or something like that. Those are two ways of doing it. If you go less detailed, actually in the future when your software changes, you might be able to reuse some of your audio. Now, it's great to embrace the silence. You don't have to explain everything, and it can feel a little bit awkward at times when there's no vocals, but we can fix that in the edit. Speaking of editing, this can be incredibly time-consuming. Luckily, you have your notes, and you've written down every time when it went wrong, so you have an overview of everything that needs fixing. Great, well done. Now, one thing that you should definitely add in the edit is some graphics. Just a still image at the beginning, or like a 3 to 5 second bumper, just your logo going in, swoosh. There we go. Nothing too fancy. A little bit fancy, but nothing too fancy. And it will make everything look much more professional. Of course, you could hire a motion designer to do that, or you could use Keynote or PowerPoint to do that. Little pro tip for you. Example of a bumper. This is 2 seconds. Has audio, and then it goes to this. Here's another bumper, 3 seconds. No audio. There we go. Looks great. Sets the setting. Now, I've been going really, really quickly because we had some technical issues before this talk, and I need to make up for time. But you should go slow, and you should explain everything at a slow pace, and it can feel a bit boring. And to fix that, we can actually add some background music, nothing too loud, no vocals, and it'll make everything feel a lot faster, even though it isn't, and it will allow people to catch up. So that's a great way to kind of make things feel a little bit more dynamic. Now, there are hundreds of screen recording tools out there. You can choose whatever you want. I've used QuickTime and iMovie a zillion times. They came with my Mac. So yeah, you could do that. You could do whatever. I actually ended up building my own software. You know, you might think I'm mad. But there's a good reason for that. And I think that the approach to recording software, especially for web apps, I think the approach is flawed, and I think it needs a little bit of a different approach. So I'm going to show you what it looks like to record a video with Record Once. And now. Little thing that you should know, I'm going to adhere to my advice in this video, and I'm also not going to adhere to my advice at the same time. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what it's like to record a video in Record Once. So I typed in the URL I'm going to be using here, and I'm going to start recording. In this demo, we're going to create a bot in Bot Squad. And actually, a funny story, we can't actually use our own app to record videos of ourselves because Record Once only works on web apps, and we're a desktop app ourselves, so we don't get the same benefits that you do. And you probably already noticed on the right-hand side, everything we've done, like every field we've filled in, every button we've clicked, are all registered over there, and it already kind of edits it for you. So you get a lot of things for free. Now I'm going to name my personal assistant Frank. Hello, Frank. I have my script here, so I don't forget anything. And this is the portion where I always forget where I need to be. So was it here? Was it there? Oh, I forget. Now, you watching this, you're like, ugh, this explains video sucks a little bit. It's quite messy, and there's a good reason for that. It's to kind of show you what you get, like what your input is and what your output is, and I kind of want to show that to you a little bit. So I always need to click that button. I think that's a bug in the app. There we go. Add in this phone number. Click save, and then click start. And there we go. That's it. Yeah. So I can stop recording, and now I can start editing. And I don't want to show the login. I think it's boring, so we're going to hide that. And I like to add a little bit of voiceover to explain what we're going to be doing at the beginning. And I can use this as kind of like my own personal teleprompter, so I give myself some cues. So let's create our very first bot. Okay, and then for these two actions, I can actually create a voiceover that spans multiple actions, and it'll Record Once will figure out the timing for that. And I'm going to type something about templates. Let's choose the personal assistant template. It gives you a lot for free out of the box. Okay, cool. And then actually, so I clicked save here. Yeah, clicked save here, and I think that's a bug because I didn't actually do anything. So I'm going to hide that. And I'm also, yeah, and that's it. So okay, and then let's add a voiceover at the end. Oh, let's ban all three. Let's check out the working bot, shall we? And actually, one of the nice things about these teleprompters is you could type them in, fill them in, and then you could put your colleague behind record once, and they could then record the voiceover, or you could hire a professional voice actor who could then record the voiceover in record once, and you're ready to go. Okay, so that is nearly finished. It needs one more touch, something that makes it extra professional, and I'm going to add a video file in with a 3-second bumper. There we go, it's got that in there. I'm going to save this. And let's publish it and actually check this out full screen. So let's create our very first bot. Let's choose the personal assistant template. It gives you a lot for free out of the box. And as I said, we fix timing for you. So if you go really quick or really fast, the end result will always be consistent, nice, slow, but not too slow. And remember here I was all messing about, couldn't find where I need to be. And this is all cleaned up for you. And it gives you a nice consistent end result. So you saw how messy this was, right? And I practiced this a couple times. It was messier before. Actually, let's check out the end result though, shall we? Is pretty good. And there we go. So that's our explainer video in about 5 minutes. All right, now we've pretty much run out of time. I want to say something about staying current. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't create explainer videos. Unfortunately, we don't have too much time to go into that. There's some common solutions. Animation. I love animation, but not for this reason. I hinted at reusing your audio a little bit earlier, keeping things generic, and then you can reuse your audio and just re-record your screen. So there's some seed scripts, some ad agencies remake everything in After Effects, and then in our case, because we know exactly which things you've clicked on, we can use a bot to then re-record everything. So that's how we do some things. Here's a little checklist you should take a screenshot of, and then we can go into Q&A. So please, send your questions in. I'm gonna switch over to the Q&A. We only have a couple minutes for questions, so if in the meantime you have a question that we don't have any time for, let me put my email address up on the slide, and you can email me. Thank you so much for watching, and I apologize for rushing, and big thanks to DevDays for having me, and of course apologies for the technical difficulties and us starting a little bit late.